If you're watching this video, it's because you've completed the first 50 boxes of the 250 box challenge. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then you're either unfamiliar with the Drawabox course, which you can find out all about at drawabox.com, specifically lesson 0, or you've simply skipped a little too far ahead. If you've just gotten to the box challenge, then you'll want to start with the overview video, which you'll find through the link in the description to the box challenge page of our website. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get into how we're going to be drawing our next 50 boxes to bring us to an even 100. Where the first 50 had us using the Y method in conjunction with a concrete vanishing point marked out on the page, which we consciously and intentionally aimed every edge towards, with the goal of achieving as consistent a convergence as possible, here we're going to do the same thing without those vanishing points. The purpose of the box challenge is ultimately to help us take our focus away from the vanishing points themselves, which are an abstracted aspect of the rules of perspective, and shift it more towards the actual edges we're representing on the page. Some might think, how do we know where to aim our lines without a vanishing point? The answer, which we actually already encountered in the organic perspective exercise, is that we pay attention to the lines themselves. When you have one line drawn, any other line you draw, as long as it's not parallel to the first, will converge with it. Once you have two lines, you essentially have two arrows that point to where they converge. And you can use that information to add yet more lines that similarly orient to converge towards the same point. We will be doing the same thing when constructing our boxes. The Y gives us the first edge of all three sets, which will point towards the vanishing point. Like in the first 50, our vanishing point can still exist anywhere along this path, but when we add a second edge, we are locking the position of the vanishing point. Finally, when drawing the third and fourth edges of this set, we simply have to keep those existing lines in mind and try to get those we're drawing to converge consistently with them. Ultimately, we may not have concrete vanishing points to work with, but we still have access to the information they represented. This, working without concrete vanishing points, will be our focus for the remainder of the 250 box challenge as a whole, but for the next 50, we are specifically going to keep the convergence of our edges gradual and shallow. In other words, our vanishing points will generally be way off the page. So even if we wanted to mark them out, we wouldn't be able to. There will probably be cases where one vanishing point is closer, due to how some boxes may be oriented in space, but in general the average distance of the vanishing points as a whole to the given box will be considerably farther than the first 50 boxes we've already drawn thus far. Getting right into it, we're going to start by drawing our initial Y just like before, keeping in mind that the central point will represent the corner closest to the viewer. Also, as before, we will be varying the lengths of our Y's arms in order to experiment with how our box comes out in different orientations, and to avoid simply drawing the exact same box over and over again. The box challenge is meant to help us explore how the resulting box changes based on factors like the angles between the arms, which should be at least 90 degrees, as well as their lengths, so as to help push our subconscious understanding of 3D space. While this is obviously different from resolving the corners for the first 50, it's actually pretty similar to how we approached the Y method in the organic perspective exercise. The only difference from that is that we'll be drawing through our boxes as well. So the process of resolving each corner will require us to consider 3 edges, one from each set, rather than just 2. While doing this, the process of which you'll see in more detail by reviewing the Y method video from lesson 1, always remember what I said earlier. Your first line points to where the vanishing point would be, but we don't know where along that path it will sit specifically. The second line of a set will serve as a second arrow, locking the vanishing point, or the point of convergence, into a single location. For this one, you can focus mostly on ensuring that it is converging in the right direction with the only other line of its set, rather than diverging. Then your third and fourth will try and match this convergence. Given that we're estimating our convergences, we're not going to nail everything perfectly, even when we're finished the challenge and long after that as well. I'll tell you right now, my convergences are not perfect, and often enough they can be far off by a fair measure. At the end of the day, this is an exercise, and the goal is not to create a perfect box. It's to gradually hone and improve our spatial reasoning skills. The goal is not to draw really good boxes. The goal is to understand 3D space well enough that it does not hold you back when drawing your own stuff. That doesn't mean you can simply wing it and hope for the best. Everything we do throughout this course involves conscious, hyper-intentional choices so as to rewire our brains and push that kind of thinking into what we do automatically or instinctually when drawing outside of the course. If, however, we train our instincts by using our instincts here, we end up with a big mess and a lot of wasted time. To that end, when drawing every edge of a set, you need to be thinking about all three of the other edges, both those that have been drawn and those that have not yet been drawn, in order to decide how to orient the line you're drawing in that moment. A piece of advice I've often given to students is that it's perfectly okay to make a mistake, as long as that mistake followed some kind of reasoning. Meaning, your reasoning can be totally wrong, but as long as you made the mistake because you were thinking in some specific way, we can talk about what led to that reasoning and identify a misunderstanding. If, however, you just draw lines and hope for the best, there is no reasoning behind that. It's not something that can be discussed, broken down, explored, and understood. It's just random luck, and it's not of much use to us here. Finally, with your box constructed, you can add hatching lines as we did with the first 50 to help remind ourselves which side faces towards the viewer and which side faces away from them. This stuff isn't any different from our first 50. Fill out the rest of the page with more boxes, sticking to about 5 or 6 per sheet, number each box, and date your pages. When doing line extensions for these boxes, we run into the main point that distinguishes this set from the previous 50, the lack of a vanishing point. Of course, it doesn't actually change that much. Like before, we extended our line starting from the center of our initial Y, back along each arm and extended it back a ways. Before, we were extending all the way back to where we'd placed our vanishing points, but this time, since our vanishing points are way off the page and not marked in any fashion, we're left wondering how long we should be extending our lines. To make it simple, we're going to extend our lines just about to the edge of the page. This will ensure that those extensions are long enough to give us some kind of useful information to better understand just how the lines are converging as they push back into 3D space. And like before, we'll ideally be doing this just before starting on the next page, so that analysis can be fresh in our minds, allowing us to adjust our approach for the next set accordingly. To summarize, your next 50 boxes will be drawn with vanishing points pushed way farther off the page and not marked out in any concrete manner. We'll be focusing on paying attention to the lines themselves to decide how to draw the line to represent the next edge, always focusing on the 4 edges of a given set at a time, both those already drawn and those not yet drawn. Once you hit the 100 mark in the challenge, your remaining 150 boxes will be drawn as a mixture of boxes with rapid convergence, meaning the vanishing point will be closer to the box, resulting in more dramatic foreshortening, and those with more gradual convergence, meaning the vanishing point will be very far away, resulting in shallower foreshortening. Keep in mind, for those cases with rapid convergence, we still won't be drawing the vanishing point on the page. You'll be estimating those convergences as described in this video for the remainder of the challenge. And for those with shallower, more gradual convergence, that does not mean you should be actively trying to draw your edges as being parallel on the page. That would break the rules of perspective, as there's no such thing as 0-point perspective. Always make sure your lines are converging. It's just a question of how quickly, based on how close they are to your box.